Directions. Read the article and answer the questions that follow. Paragraph 1. John Smith was born in England in 1580. He left home when he was a teenager and became a soldier. He fought in many battles and was promoted to captain. He also spent time sailing the Mediterranean Sea. After traveling throughout Europe and North Africa, Smith returned to England. It wasn't long before he found his next adventure. Paragraph 2. In the early 17th century, England wanted to establish a colony in America to increase its wealth and power. Smith became involved with the Virginia Company of London, a group of men who had just received permission from King James I to start a colony. In December 1606, Smith and 103 other men and boys sailed across the Atlantic Ocean from England to Virginia. They established the colony of Jamestown on a peninsula in the James River in May 1607. A peninsula, by the way, is like where the land kind of sticks out into the water, kind of like the bottom of Florida does. It's a peninsula. 3. Smith and the other colonists soon learned that life was difficult in the New World. One major problem was that the site they chose was located in swampy wetlands. The drinking water was dirty, causing some colonists to become ill. The many mosquitoes that lived there spread diseases. In addition, they quickly ran low on food. Most of the colonists didn't know how to farm, so it was difficult to replace the food they ate. Disease and starvation took a toll, and over half of the colonists died in the first few months. Another issue facing the colony was the colonists themselves. Many of them were unskilled. Others were simply unwilling to do the hard labor needed to build the settlement. They were more interested in looking for gold while other men did the work. With only a small amount of men working, the colony was taking a long time to set up. Smith knew that things needed to change if the colony was going to survive. Okay, so let's look at the title. I didn't read that. Saving Jamestown. So it's in trouble, so we got to figure out what's he going to do to save it. In September 1608, Smith became the leader of the Jamestown colony. He immediately began to change the way the colony was run. The most significant change he made was to start a forced work program. He declared, "He who shall not work shall not eat." After this announcement, the colonists finally chose to cooperate. Under Smith's leadership, they constructed buildings, made repairs to the fort, and dug a well. They also began making products that could be sent back to England to be sold. Another important decision Smith made was to emphasize the importance of agriculture or farming. The colonists learned how to plant and harvest crops, and they were able to slowly increase the food supply. As more people arrived in Jamestown, Smith made sure to put them to work as well. His strict work policy made him unpopular with some of the colonists, but it also got results. 5. Smith contributed to the colony in other ways. He took boats and small groups of men to explore the nearby rivers in the Chesapeake Bay. He took notes as they traveled, which he later used to draw a detailed map of the area. On one of his trips, he met Powhatan, the chief of many American Indian tribes that lived nearby. Smith learned to communicate with Powhatan and the native peoples. He began a trading relationship with them, which allowed him to bring much needed food back to the colony. However, the relationship between the colonists and the American Indians was rocky. Over time, Smith and Powhatan became enemies, and fighting between the two groups increased. Despite many obstacles, life in the colony began to improve with Smith in control. However, his role as Jamestown's leader would not last long. In 1609, he was injured in a gunpowder explosion and had to return to England. He later made 2 more trips to North America, but he never again returned to Virginia. 7. After many years of traveling, Smith died in England in 1631. Before he died, he wrote several books about his experiences in the New World. In fact, most of what we know about Smith in the first few years at Jamestown was written by Smith himself. Today, many historians believe that his stories were exaggerated or even untruthful. Even so, most still agree that he was the key to Jamestown's long-term success. It's for this reason that when people think of Jamestown, they think of Captain John Smith. All right, I'll read the questions to you. Number 1, the author most likely wrote this article to A. Explain what life was like for Jamestown's first colonists. B. Entertain the reader with a story about Smith's trip to Virginia. C. Inform the reader about Smith's life and his contributions to the Jamestown colony. D. Convince the reader that Smith was the hardest working man in Jamestown. All right. Number 2, a good title for paragraph 3 would be, all right, well, we got to look at paragraph 3. Paragraph 3. Smith and the other colonists soon learned that life was difficult in the New World. It talks about the swampy wetlands, bad drinking water, mosquitoes, low on food, disease and starvation. Some of them weren't used to labor. Some of them were busy looking for gold and didn't work. All right, so that's paragraph 3 in a nutshell. So a good title for paragraph 3, number 2, would it be A, sailing to Virginia, B, looking for gold, C, troubles in Jamestown, or D, making changes? All right, number 3, which sentence about this article is a fact? Remember, a fact can be proven, and you can look it up and prove it. It's not just someone's opinion. A, the forced work program was a smart way to get the colonists to work. B, Smith didn't try very hard to improve his relationship with Powhatan. C, the map Smith drew of Virginia was very useful to the colonists. D, Smith was in his 20s when he was the leader of Jamestown. 4, look at the web below. What is the best title for the web? All right, so we've got Exploring the Rivers, Trading with American Indians, Emphasizing Agriculture. So what did all these 3 have in common? Are they reasons England started a colony? Were they John Smith's hobbies? Were they the ways that John Smith contributed to Jamestown? Or were they the problems facing the colonists? All right, number 5. The author likely included paragraph 2 to, well, we got to look back, okay, let's see, paragraph 2. In the early 17th century, England wanted to establish a colony in America to increase its wealth and power. Smith became involved with the Virginia Company of London, a group of men who had just received permission from King James I to start a colony. In December 1606, Smith and 103 other men and boys sailed across the Atlantic Ocean from England to Virginia. They established the colony of Jamestown on a peninsula in the James River in May 1607. All right, so why did the author likely include that paragraph? Was it A, to explain why Smith wanted to be the leader of the Jamestown colony? Was it B, to explain how Smith ended up in the Jamestown colony? Was it C, to show the reasons why Smith was a strong leader? Or D, provide the reader a history of the Virginia Company of London? Okay, if you need to go back and look at that again, you can. You can pause the video while you do that. All right, question 6. Select the words from the article with a prefix that means not. A prefix is a piece that comes at the beginning of a word. Honestly, there's only 2 words in these choices that even have a prefix. Replace has the prefix re, and unfortunately has the prefix un. These two do, oh, explore, I'm sorry, that one also has a prefix. Explore has the prefix x. But decision, I don't think D is really considered a prefix there. So we know it's not A. All right, so a prefix that means not, okay? So decision, explore, replace, or unfortunately. All right, so not cision, that doesn't make sense. Not plore, not place, or not fortunately. Only one of those really works. That means not. All right, 7. Read this sentence from paragraph 1. He fought in many battles and was promoted to captain. So that sentence lets the reader know something about him. If he fought in many battles, and after those battles they promoted him, that should tell us something about how he fought. He evidently did a really good job. So which one of these seems to go with that thought? A, Smith was only happy when he was traveling. B, Smith was likely a skilled soldier. C, Smith accomplished all of his goals early in life. D, Smith hated fighting in battle. Which one of those would get him promoted to a captain of the troops? 8. According to the article, what is the reason that Smith wasn't well liked as a leader? Why would people not like him? A, he forced the colonists to work if they wanted to have food to eat. B, he let some colonists look for gold while others had to work. C, he lied about his experiences in the colony. D, he didn't bring enough food back when he traded with the American Indians. Number 9. Look at the chart below. Which missing details should be added to complete the sequence of events? Thanks. All right, well, let's look here. Smith left home and became a soldier. Smith traveled to the New World to help establish the Jamestown colony. Smith became the leader of Jamestown. Smith was hurt in a gunpowder explosion. So which one of these happened after all that? Smith became involved with the Virginia Company of London. Smith established a forced work program. Smith wrote about his adventures in the New World. Smith explored the Chesapeake Bay. All right, so basically which one of those happened last? All right, number 10, last one. What can the reader assume about Jamestown after reading this article? When you assume something, you kind of figure it out using the information. It may not come right out and tell you. It's just one of those things you figure out. So what can we figure out or assume about Jamestown based on this article? A, Jamestown might have failed without Smith's leadership. B, Jamestown would have succeeded without Smith because the colonists would have found gold. C, Jamestown never had any problems after Smith left the colony. D, Jamestown failed because Smith had returned to England. All right, once you finish this, you can turn it in the tray, make sure your name is on it, and then I have a word search that you can work on.